What's up, QAA listeners?
The fun games have begun.
I found a way to connect to the internet. I'm sorry, boy. Welcome, listener, to Chapter 157 of the QAnon Anonymous podcast, the QAnon Queen of Canada episode. As always, we are your hosts, Jake Rockatansky,
Julian Field,
and Travis View.
This week, we travel north to Canada, where a new queen is enforcing her iron rule, according to her and other QAnon followers. We'll be exploring the Mind Palace being built by Romana Didulo and her faithful digital soldiers on social media. To do so, we've invited Mack Lamoureux to chat with us. He's a journalist for Vice who has covered Didulo from her own backyard. You can think of him as a resistance fighter debunking her quiet monarchist revolution. Since we wrote and recorded this episode, Didulo has slid into increasingly worrying messaging, including a statement that, quote, "The children of the evildoers whose bloodlines have committed genocide/crimes against humanity, their entire family is wiped out, and their DNA strain is removed, permanently gone from planet Earth." The majority of the followers in her Telegram chat cheered the statement on.
The QAnon Queen of Canada.
QAnon followers often fancy themselves as patriots in the vein of the American founding fathers, even if they aren't American, which is why it's strange that they're so often drawn to people who claim to be royalty. In the UK, there is the case of QAnon promoter Gregory Hallett, who claims to be the rightful king of England. We talked about him in Premium episode 84. And in Canada, they have their own pretender to the throne, Romana Didulo, a woman in her 50s who claims to be the Queen of Canada. Now, it's been explained to me that since Canada is a constitutional monarchy, there is technically a Queen of Canada, but it's also the Queen of the UK, Queen Elizabeth II. I don't know. I suppose these weird sort of claiming the throne sort of acts, they could be like performance art about like the absurdity of royalty, you know. The only reason royalty exists because some aristocrat sometime in the ancient past just claimed themselves to be royalty, and then, then their ancestors were forever. So
you're thinking of like a pastafarianism for royalists?
Yes. Maybe this is pastafarianism for royalty.
If you're a big enough asshole, you can proclaim yourself the king or queen of a place, and if there's not a ton of resistance, it can stay that way. Especially, in the days before the internet where you couldn't, fact check.
I declared myself king of both of you, and it's worked out fine so far. My dominion is thriving.
Didulo gets around the Queen Elizabeth II problem by claiming that she has been executed. Wait. Here's how she introduced herself in a recent video she posted on Telegram.
Hello Canada, I'm Romana Didulo. I'm the head of state and commander-in-chief, head of government, and Queen of Canada, replacing Queen Elizabeth II of England, who has now been executed for crimes against humanity.
Well,
yeah,
pretty straightforward.
Didulo is the leader of an online political party called the Canada First Party of Canada. Awfully redundant name. So the party's not officially registered anywhere, but has been turned in a corporation by Didulo. On the party's website, they describe themselves as not part of or beholden to the corrupted and inhumane globalist/communist/NWO/UN/Great Reset/2021/2030 agenda.
Clear.
So, I mean, we already get a sense of what's going on. It seems like they're like Didulo and I suppose the party she leads is sort of just hoovering up every sort of mainstream sort of great conspiracy that's popular right now. She started posting about the party and making videos about her policies in late 2020. At first, she didn't claim to be the Queen of Canada and promoted a lot of like conspiratorial nonsense, such as the ludicrous notion that the COVID-19 pandemic was part of a deliberate plot that was hatched by communists.
Hello Canada, I'm Romana Didulo. I am the founder and leader of Canada First. Today I would like to speak with you about masks. Wearing masks. Someone asked me, Romana, do you wear masks? My answer, no. I never wore masks since the beginning of this pandemic.
Is there any way to hook her up with Sid Meier so she could actually represent Canada in civilization?
What's really remarkable for me is the way in which in Canada you can be a sort of a conspiratorial leader while being this soft-spoken and low energy. In the U.S., we need an Alex Jones, a Mike Lindell, a Donald Trump, a screaming maniac who shouts nonsense in order to really break through the noise and become a conspiratorial leader. Whereas this woman, she's like, she's speaking, and she takes a lot of pauses. She's not shouting, but that's enough for the Canadian conspiracists, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. It's Canada. They're always a little bit more friendly or a little bit less wild. I got to say, though, her outfit and her haircut are very hardcore. She's got a suit. Right. She's got a peppermint stripe tie. Yeah. Her hairline is impeccable. I wish that I had a hairline and a nice salt and pepper look like this. I mean, it's impressive.
Now, during this period, she was pretty obscure. However, she gained more attention when she started to play into QAnon tropes earlier this year. She, for example, claimed that she was appointed to her position by the White Hats.
In case you're wondering who appointed me as the head of state and commander-in-chief of the Republic of Canada, the people who appointed me are the White Hats and the U.S. military, together with the global allied troops and their governments. The same group of people who have helped President Trump.
Wait, global online troops and their governments? Like what? The Pepes now have... Is she talking about Kekistan?
I don't think so. I think this is part of the global QAnon movement. Like every sort of like every government now has their own white hats, the good deep state,
Fair.
She also looks like she's like broadcasting from her cousin's basement.
Yeah, no, it's so good. It's so Canadian.
You would think she's on a an unassuming couch in a den with there are no pictures on the wall. There's nothing.
And like half the frame is just the beige wall behind her head.
Yeah, you know what it looks like? It looks like an audition room, like when you get put on tape for a commercial audition or something like that. You're just kind of in a blank room with a white wall.
People are sick of the overly glitzy, maximalist current royalty and how it's portrayed on video. They're looking for something that's like a hostage video shot by Haneke.
I just think it would help her cause a little bit more, make it a little bit more believable if she were sitting at some kind of, official looking desk or, maybe some books or papers on the desk, something.
Didulo gives out a special shout out to the digital soldiers.
And I would like to send a very special thanks and greetings to our digital soldiers on Telegram. These groups of people have given up their time and energy, working tirelessly and sharing information, awakening their fellow Canadians and people around the globe.
Didulo was thrust into prominence by several popular QAnon figures who confirmed her status as Queen of Canada. For example, here is how she was described by the QAnon channel We the People News.
She's been brave enough to step in and start this Republic in Canada, and I really admire her, actually, for doing this, and she is very to the point. She's sending out all these cease and desist orders that people can use to stop these mask mandate type vaccine mandate crimes. And she's making it very clear that if you violate those crimes, that you'll be executed. She is making it very, very clear about what's going to happen if people violate those rules. And God bless her. Canada needs somebody like that. And even if she's just there temporarily, I don't know. But I really, really admire her for stepping up. And you got to know she's being attacked, and it's a hard job to take on. How the cabal is just, they have their minions and they just attack. So God bless her and keep her safe.
Yeah, that's really what's really drawing a lot of QAnon followers to her. She is promising basically death to people who enforce COVID restrictions or vaccines or masks or
maybe even just
stuff.
mask wearers.
Yeah.
You want to go into a McDonald's, you want to order, you want to be safe. You want to be considerate of the employees working there and the other patrons. You throw on a mask, and then boom, you're fucking dragged into a black van, bag over your head, taken to a fucking some undisclosed
maple syrup
black
factory.
site. Where you just get turned into glue.
Yeah, no, this rules. She absolutely rules, and I think it would be really spicy for Canada to start doing executions because, like, right now they just don't have the best seat at like the table in anything, like NATO, the G7, even the UN. If you want to be playing with the big boys, you gotta start executing people.
But it sounds to me like there's also a little bit of this sort of like sovereign citizen nonsense kind of baked into this that, there's a letter that you can produce, that will force the government to stop enforcing, these sort of, health safety laws.
You know what rocks is that that everyone who watches her and is in Canada and fantasizes about this stuff is just fantasizing about like their neighbor Pete getting executed.
Yeah, of course.
Like, fuck you, Pete. One
That
of these
fucking
days,
guy,
I'll get you.
He's always out mowing his fucking lawn there, bud. It's super annoying. Early in the morning, I'm trying to get some sleep.
He asked me to wear a mask because his kids are unsafe. Oh, boo-hoo-hoo, Pete. My queen is going to execute you.
Didulo even referenced QAnon tropes while discussing a news story about a genuine Canadian atrocity. Recently, the remains of 215 children, including some as young as 3, were found in a mass grave on the grounds of a former residential school that were once part of a nationwide effort in Canada to separate Indigenous children from their families in an attempt to assimilate them.
This is one of the most horrifying pieces of news that has come out
So
recently.
fucked up.
Yeah, really wretched.
They're literally setting up like Stephen King novel shit like everywhere across Canada by committing insane, weird, really institutionalized genocide, basically. Ethnic cleansing.
Absolutely. Genocidal. Needs no exaggeration,
Very true.
In 2015, a National Center for Truth and Reconciliation report estimated that more than 150,000 children attended these schools and more than 6,000 died, never returning home. So the unmarked graves in this case were found at the Kamloops Indian Residential School, which closed in 1978. So here we have a case again of a genuine conspiracy, genuine government corruption, genuine institutional child abuse. You could talk about it based upon the facts of the matter. It would be horrifying. It was something that's worthy of demanding justice for. Requires no exaggeration, but of course Didulo takes this genuine story and exaggerates anyway, tying it to QAnon fictions about adrenochrome.
Oh, come on.
Like you, the rest of Canada have questions as to what happened, where, when, why, and how these atrocities were perpetuated in Canada for centuries. Like you, the rest of Canada is wondering, were these children part of human sacrifice? Were their blood drained and drunk by certain secret societies? Were they part of adrenochrome harvesting? Were they part of organ harvesting?
Wow. I wonder what her backstory is. Like, how did she get so pilled?
Well, funny you should say that, because as first reported by the Canadian Anti-Hate Network, before Didulo got into the QAnon game, she was listed as the president or director of a variety of companies. They had names like Infinite Wealth 24/7 and Canada Engineering and Construction Management. So seems like she was a legitimate sort of entrepreneur. But she evidently was not very successful, as many of the companies she opened were delisted due to a failure to pay taxes. The first company appears to be called Global Solutions Canada, also called 24 Hours Care, Inc. Didulo Holdings, another company, followed in 2012. An archived webpage for the site describes it as a boutique private wealth management company in Delaware that caters to high net worth individuals. Now, Didulo's very quick rise, I think is really disturbing because it shows that kooks can still gain influence by appealing to QAnon followers and tapping into QAnon networks, even now in 2021, even though there has not been a Q drop since December of last year. The big worry before was always that, this big sort of pool of QAnon people are such easy marks that if you just give them a little bit, you just give them the messaging that they want to hear, they will eat out of the palm of your hand. And that seems to still be true. Didulo also does a lot of sovereign citizen stuff. She, for example, claimed that the government of Canada is a corporate government, which will be disbanded soon. She referenced this belief in a video in which she issues a warning to people working for this corporate government.
I would also like to remind you that the corporation government with whom you work for and take orders now will not be around to protect you and defend you. The corporation government will not exist inside the Republic of Canada. The banking system of the corporate government will not exist inside the Republic of Canada. The court system of the corporate government of Canada will not exist inside the Republic. So I encourage you to think very, very carefully and to immediately stop your actions in dealing with promotions, deliveries, etc., of these vaccines.
Didulo now has almost 40,000 Telegram followers, and each of her messages receives dozens, sometimes hundreds, of supportive comments from her fans. Many of Didulo's followers seem to believe that she's holding military tribunals behind the scenes, which are resulting in the executions that they're thirsting for. Now, this kind of bloodlust is already kind of troubling and absurd in the United States, but it's even more absurd in Canada, where capital punishment has been abolished since 1999.
As far back as late February, early March of this year, right immediately I took my oath as the head of state and commander-in-chief. I declared Canada a vaccine-free nation, which means all of the vaccines and injections happening across the Republic is unlawful, criminal, and is crime against humanity. And for those individuals and groups who may not know this: inside the Republic, the penalty for crimes against humanity, treason, economic sabotage, and bioterrorism is death. You will be tried for crimes against humanity under Nuremberg Code. And if that is not enough, as the head of state and commander-in-chief of the Republic of Canada, I will convene a military tribunal and charge you with crime against humanity, treason, bioterrorism, and economic sabotage, all of which carry, as I've already mentioned, death penalty.
She is amazing.
She's like, I will kill you myself with my bare hands.
She also doesn't seem to have any other punishments but death, which is cool, and it's just
she's only there to execute.
Right. She streamlined the justice system. One punishment, death. Some Didulo followers even baked her name. They observed that Romana Didulo is an anagram for I am your Donaldo, with your spelled UR, which is pretty weak bake, I gotta say. I am your Donaldo. It reminds me of that Simpsons episode where Lisa tried to come up with an anagram for Jeremy Irons, and the best she could come up with is Jeremy's Iron.
But also, the things that were searched ahead of that were place letters and Trump ahead.
No, these are, yes. They also did Germantia on her name, and they found out that that apparently Romana Didulo has the same Germantia value as Trump ahead. So
Gematria
counts, I guess.
value.
Okay.
That's what I want to learn. Like, my self-esteem should be rebuilt based on that system. I want more gematria value for myself.
Didulo has established her own special sign-off phrase that she uses on a lot of her Telegram posts, and it says, "Peace and prosperity, or perish."
Star Trek
Jesus
with
Christ.
executions at the end.
Yes, exactly. It sounds like a Star Trek villain. This sort of phrase, as a way to sort of be the ultimate antagonist of the Federation. Sometimes Didulo posts cryptic messages that promise big happenings, such as this recent message.
Expect to see more unmarked military aircrafts landing in Canada.
Other times, she openly appeals to her followers' bloodlust. For example, there was this Telegram post.
Let's keep this simple. Death is the penalty for crimes against humanity.
This comment led to 162 approving messages from her followers. Some simply listed Canadian politicians that they would like to see put to death. Some posted gifs of swinging nooses. I saw one message from a follower that said this.
As much as I hate to see people being put to death, it has become necessary because the jerks just won't stop what they are doing. Wow, that's the most Canadian way to call for someone's summary execution.
Another message said this.
She is the only one that is saying anything hopeful or anything that makes sense. It felt completely hopeless before Romana came along.
Always a bad sign.
Boy.
I was full of despair, but then you promised mass death, and now I'm filled with hope. That's how it starts. One lone kook from Canada with a bit of a following might not be that notable. However, she has inspired her followers to take real-life action, which changes the equation a bit. They have filed hundreds of cease and desist notices demanding businesses, governments, and police forces stop all activities related to combating the pandemic. They have organized themselves into groups to email their demands out en masse, send them via registered mail, or simply make their way to stores or police stations in order to physically hand them out. One dramatic cease and desist letter says this.
Dear sirs, I, Romana Didulo, Head of State and Commander-in-Chief, Head of Government of Canada and Queen of Canada, bring to your immediate attention and order you to cease and desist all the genocide and crimes against humanity under natural law, common law, treaty law, Articles 6 and 7 of the International Criminal Court Statute, the Nuremberg Code, the Geneva Convention, the United Nations Convention, the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples in your jurisdiction. 1. All COVID-19/coronavirus 19 vaccinations and experimentation, genetic biowarfare, across Canada. 2. All PCR testing across Canada. 3. All masking, private and public spaces, all transportations across Canada. 4. All lockdowns across Canada. 5. All quarantines across Canada. 6. All closures of provincial and territorial across Canada. 7. All closures of international borders. This will serve as your lawful notice to cease and desist all further actions described above, effective immediately. Furthermore, I declare all of Canada open upon publication of this order, including all borders between United States and Canada.
Unilaterally opening your border with the United States is a bold move for Canada.
Special notes. A. Joseph Joe Biden is not president of U.S., and the U.S. Armed Forces has been in control since January 14th, 2021. B. An email from the Commander-in-Chief of U.S. Armed Forces has been sent to the Armed Forces of Canada last night, acknowledging and confirming my authority as Head of State and Commander-in-Chief, Head of Government of Canada, and Queen of Canada. Govern yourselves accordingly. Signed and sealed, Her Royal Highness Queen Lady Romana Didulo, Head of State and Commander-in-Chief of, Head of Government of Canada, Queen of Canada.
This is incredible.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And, I feel like it's like if you weren't already convinced that this is ludicrous, it adds like special notes, some extra crazy shit. Joe Biden isn't actually president.
Yeah.
I am the witness of the law serving you a lawful document, cease and desist order to stop immediately all unlawful COVID measures. We are now living in a sovereign Republic of Canada and are no longer in Canada Inc. Corporation. Your business is operating in the Sovereign Republic of Canada. Our newly appointed Head of State, Commander-in-Chief, Head of Government of Canada, Romana Didulo, by lawful order requires that we resume our lives back to normal and open our businesses to full capacity. All former COVID-19 measures and restrictions are unlawful, unscientific, and unjust, and are therefore invalid, null, and void. This means no more pandemic lies, no more masks, no more social distancing, no more temperature taking, no more lockdowns, no more quarantine or self-imposed isolation, no more genocidal COVID vaccines, no vaccine passport and ID chip. If you still enforce any of the former COVID measures on any living, breathing man, woman, staff, and customers, you are violating the universal human rights and are complicit in crimes against humanity and will be prosecuted by we the people, military tribunal under natural law and common law, and by the Head of State and Commander-Chief of Canada, Romana Didulo.
Didulo asked her followers to send these cease and desist letters to lots of businesses and government organizations. One follower of Didulo has posted a video of himself serving this cease and desist order to his local police department.
Hi there. I just wonder if this detachment's been served the cease and desist order?
A cease and desist?
Yeah, anything related to the authority of COVID?
I have not, no.
Okay. Could I leave this for your chief?
I would have to talk to somebody.
Could I leave that with your chief? That's a cease and desist order. We have a new we have a new commander-in-chief.
Okay.
It's pretty self-explanatory. It's signed by we the people. So I'm going to report this back. Okay, sure.
Hold on to it.
Sure.
Okay. Do you have a mask or anything?
No, this is dealing with the mass cease and desist order.
Alrighty.
Okay.
I'll just be 1 second.
Perfect.
If you just want to sit down.
Sure, I can stand. That's fine. No worries.
Compared to our sort of a rank and file conspiracists, you can see them in the U.S. at least, sort of screaming their heads off at school boards and stuff. Well, this guy's like, "Hey, this note says that you gotta stop wearing the mask, or else my queen will execute you." Sure, I'll wait. When that officer summoned her superior, the man issuing the cease and desist order said that he was going to report back to Didulo.
It's recommended to give to your chief of police. I believe that's Chief Gilbert.
Yep.
If you could do that, that'd be great. So I'm just going to.
Sir, that way I know who I'm speaking.
If you need my name, you can get it through Romana. She's the new commander-in-chief. I'll be reporting back. So if Romana's the new chief commander.
Of who?
Of Canada.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Do you
Okay.
have like a driver's license or?
No, I don't. But if you need my information, you can get it through Romana because I'm going to report back to her. So if she's so inclined to give it to you, she will.
Can I get your first name?
I'm not going to give you my name. I'm going to leave that with you. Okay.
All right, so you have
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh my.
Oh my.
Chief of all of Canada. Oh my.
Oh my.
Oh, boy.
my.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Canadian
What is
cursing.
she the chief of? Canada.
When she
Oh, my.
offered to leave, this, by the way, should be a guide for all cops. When a person does this and then says, "I'm going to leave now," let them be exactly like this guy. Be like, "Okay, see you, bye." That's all. You don't need to investigate this further. This has resolved itself.
Yeah, you got a piece of paper that will likely end up in the recycling bin.
Hopefully, it ends up on the police fridge and everyone reads it. But you can only hope. Whatever. Fucking hail Romana. I don't care. I'm fucking joining her, actually, boys. Didulo is my new commander. I agree with him.
Oh my.
Oh, my.
That moment, oh my God. It's such a genuine reaction where it's like, oh dear. This is oh buddy, you are on some next level shit, bud. Okay. All right, no problem. You don't want to leave your not a problem at all. Go ahead. Go back to your queen and we'll be in touch.
This is what they call de-escalation.
Another Didulo follower was filmed serving a cease and desist order to a store after she was denied service for not wearing a mask.
So you're not going to let me purchase this without a mask on? I will absolutely let you purchase it.
Okay, really? They told you gals politely.
Okay,
They told you politely. It is the policy.
So, you've been served. You've got 7 days. Have a good day.
Okay, you're not gonna give me my Wheaties? Well, you've been served.
You've been fucking served then, in that fucking case.
One especially excitable group of conspiracy theorists in Alberta went to over 30 businesses to hand out the notices. On June 10th, they went to an elementary school while children were present.
No!
And handed out the flyers and anti-vax notices. They eventually were kicked out. Police confirmed to Vice World News that 2 of those people received trespassing tickets for their actions. The group complained about his mistreatment by police inside its Telegram chat and mulled over bombarding the school's principal with letters. Didulo makes a lot of Q-like posts on Telegram, like this one.
Dear global patriots, there are ongoing military operations in your individual countries. Watch carefully what I am doing in Canada now and take note. The cease and desist order was issued to every national government in every country worldwide. I will soon make a public appearance with Canada's armed forces and allied forces. It will have a domino effect worldwide. Hold the line.
So, I mean, it seems as though the Q success has sort of created a template that just anyone with some level of following, devotional, conspiratorial following, can just emulate and then get lots of people excited. Didulo also has advice for workers whose employers require them to wear masks or get vaccinated.
Boss, in case you didn't know, your business is now operating inside the Republic of Canada. Corporate mandates being issued by the corporate government of Canada from Ottawa or the provinces or cities have no power over the men, women, and children of the Republic. Masking, vaccinating, quarantining, testing, and social distancing has been declared unlawful. And if you don't change your social policies immediately, the Republic government has the power to order the U.S. and Allied Special Forces to arrest you for crimes against humanity and confiscate and seize your company and assets.
It says,
Wow.
Hey, boss, how's it going? I got a note for you here. It says that if you make me wear a mask, I'm going to seize your assets. Okay, just take this. Thank you so much.
I mean, I know last week I didn't recognize your union, but now that you're telling me there's a new queen.
More recently, Didulo leveraged her following in an attempt to raise cash. She set up a GoFundMe with an ambitious $25 million goal.
What?
Yep. The description for that page is very simple. It just said this.
Hi, I am Queen Romana of Canada. I am fundraising to build homes for families in British Columbia, Canada, who lost their homes to wildfire.
The campaign only listed Didulo and does not indicate where exactly the money would be going. At one point, the campaign raised over $54,000. This shows you the level of influence she still has. Yeah, $54,000. Several of the donations had comments about Didulo or featured the "Where we go one, we go all." Following Mack Lamoureux's report about the campaign, GoFundMe actually shut the campaign down, so she did not receive any of that cash.
That's unfortunate. He's responsible for the lack of executions.
As of this recording, Didulo is still very much active on Telegram. Just this past week, she posted this message.
How many of you are aware of the Canadian dumps/tunnels being cleaned up by U.S. military special forces and allied special forces? If you are aware, then you know Queen Romana has been removing the Chinese Communist Party military personnel from Canada.
I'm sure any honest Canadian will observe that there are no Chinese soldiers roving Canada right now, and they have Queen Romana to thank.
This is the never-ending Cold War. We're never going to get out of this paranoia. It's being drilled into us in so many ways.
Like a lot of modern-day QAnon followers, she is also getting into the UFO game. Take, for example, this recent post in which she asks the Federation of Light to stop wildfires.
Dear Space Force Special Forces and Intergalactic Federation of Light Special Forces, please extinguish all wildfires in Canada, especially in British Columbia, Ontario, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, Canada. Include west coast of US and the whole world wherever there are wildfires raging. Please also create rain for our soil, plants, animals, crops, and lakes. Finally, please shoot down the direct energy weapon technology that is responsible for all these wildfires in Canada, US, and the whole world. Thank you very kindly for your immediate assistance.
It seems like what's going on here is that climate change is burning our planet while fake royalty prays to imaginary aliens to stop fires they think are caused by space lasers. We are now joined by Mack Lamoureux, reporter for Vice World News and author of the report, QAnons are harassing people at the whim of a woman they say is Canada's queen. Mack, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So we talked a lot. We gave some background about Romana Didulo and what she's been up to recently. So it's my understanding that she was a fringe figure until very recently. So how did that change? How exactly did she suddenly gain some influence?
Yeah, so she was pretty obscure within kind of the Canadian conspiracy movement. And then it was about in January when she started saying that she was like this leader of the white hats who were overtaking the Canadian government and the Queen of Canada. And before this, she was just kind of saying she was the leader of this fringe party. And so she's just kind of languished in obscurity until about the spring. Not really very many followers at all. But then like some Q influencers like Charlie Ward, quote unquote, kind of conformed her, and her profile like really exploded. People started flocking to her. She started getting followers in not just the hundreds, but the thousands. And she leaned into it hard. Very, very motivated followers. Been able to organize them to an extent I haven't really seen within this ecosystem, to be completely honest. Like a lot of them are actually going out and doing in real life activities. And yeah, there's several reasons why I think she's been able to get these followers after she got confirmed. Like a lot of it is she's promising a lot of violence. But that seems to be kind of like one of the things that is like really driving it up. She'll post something like the only solution to breaking the law is like lead in the head. And her followers will respond with really bizarre shit like clapping emojis or like even being like girl boss, like Yas Queen to her. One of her recent posts was how she executed like quote unquote 2.7 million people. And like her followers are like, fuck yeah, let's do this. And like, yeah, it's really bizarre if your brain hasn't been like completely broken by all this. But you know, luckily all of ours has. So,
Right.
Slay Queen.
Yeah.
I can't believe. Of course, Charlie Ward was like the one who, like, rallied behind her. He's such a the muck, the bottom of the barrel of the QAnon sort of ideologies. He seems to sort of gather him and Simon, Simon Parks, that whole crew.
Yeah, his brain is like an old crumpled tin can with just like the juice of the sidewalk, kind of remnants of it and pooling in the different parts.
But like, think of this as like a total kingmaker scenario. Like, she was nothing until they kind of pulled her out of obscurity. And now she's one of the bigger figures in Canada. Like, albeit we're a lot smaller than you guys, but there's a lot of overlap. And it was pretty insane how quickly she was able to rise to prominence after just like a few videos and like a few posts on Telegram.
Have you figured out why she likes this kind of, I don't know, very martial position? She almost sounds, you know, a little bit like dictatorial. There's plenty of leaders in the world that could sound a bit like this. I mean, what's her background? How did she end up becoming basically the first person of color queen of Canada?
It's a little hard to know her background, actually. I spent when I was reporting on this, I spent quite a long time and held on to this story for a bit, trying to figure out people who knew her before this. No one would speak to me. No one got back to me. From her online footprint, we can kind of see that she's started up and closed several companies. One was called Global Solutions Canada, which apparently helped people with staffing shortages. And she had a few little fundraisers. But as far as I can tell, none of these businesses ever did anything. And they were just kind of businesses in name only. And I know she kind of lives in a boarding house in Western Canada right now. She's got a biography on her website that said she was born in the Philippines and her parents died at a really young age and she came to Canada at 15. But then she's kind of stopped filling out the biography and it just kind of ends with that lorem ipsum kind of Latin speak. But
she's potentially, I guess, the descendant of first generation, or maybe herself a first generation immigrant escaping, a place like the Philippines that has had, I guess, so much of the empire that she now wants to be the queens of, interference. There feels like there's a connection there. I don't know if that's true or if I'm reading too much into the history.
Well, I mean, the Philippines have a long history of strongman leaders who, what they're doing to the people who I believe it's like the drug epidemic over there. Like they're just murdering a ton of people that are addicted to drugs. So I guess maybe there's something there. I wasn't able to find any evidence of it. There's definitely a possibility there. I have a really hard time, and I'm sure you guys do with all the stuff that you talk about, figuring out if she's sincere or if this is just a delusion.
Right.
And you never ever, when you're in our positions kind of looking from afar, you never want to like diagnose somebody from like my couch in Toronto to her wherever she is. But if she does believe this, and she was posting some of this stuff before she was kind of plucked out of obscurity, that's a person who's not well. So I don't really know. It's so hard to tell.
Now, like you mentioned, Didulo's followers, they're doing kind of low-level effort posts in the form of delivering these cease and desist orders to different institutions and businesses and police stations. So how have they reacted to these bizarre notes?
Well, the businesses, for the most part, are just kind of tossing them out, or even just like putting them online and making fun of them. So the way that these kind of work is that they have several Telegram pages for like regions, and in there they kind of figure out where they're going to be sending these cease and desist notes. And I'm in like quite a few of these when I was doing the reporting, and I'm still in them. But it kind of gets a little sad where like they'll post videos of them dropping off cease and desist letters to like a Dairy Queen, and the people there are making fun of them. But like if you kind of think into the cease and desist stuff, it's like pretty dark, because essentially they're creating like a database of the people that are breaking Romana's law, and Romana has a hard line of anybody who breaks her law gets executed. So what they're essentially doing is creating like this backlog, or like this kind of list of people that when they believe the military is going to come in, they're going to be up against the wall. You know, the businesses are tossing out the notices, but I don't know if they notice kind of how truly dark the whole situation is.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot of like sovereign citizen stuff going on, which I always thought was a uniquely U.S. problem, where these people, they develop this completely alternate legal framework, and they develop these sorts of notes and sort of legal notices that they think work like magic spells or something.
Oh man, I do a lot of covering of the anti-lockdown community, and like the Sov Sit stuff is coming back like you wouldn't believe. And these people, well, I know you guys traffic in annoying humans, but like sovereign citizens are their own level of like annoyance. And just like the amount of legalese gibberish that they spout off. And there's such a huge overlap here, as you just said, Travis. Like, I don't know where it's going to go from it, but it's back. Sovereign citizens back in a big way, and there's going to be quite a bit more of it as we lead out of this lockdown.
I wonder, though, because a lot of them speak like militia people, but then when it comes down to it, it sounds more like a consumer revolt level thing, where it's like, there wasn't this sauce at this restaurant, like we're going to file a bunch of stuff and we're going to show up and just cause some commotion. But there's certainly nothing at the level where you would consider organization on a militia level, you know, like the sovereign citizens of yore.
Oh, no, not at all. These are people that are going to the Gap and handing in pieces of paper. They're not like organizing in the streets, or they're not like even just like practicing shitty target shooting in like someone's backyard, like some of like the really like back alley militias that you guys have are doing.
Now, it's my understanding that not everyone in the Canadian far right has been happy with Didulo's actions. For example, there was a news report from the right-wing outlet Rebel News that was sort of mocking her. So how has she been received by, I suppose, the rest of the sort of the right-wing media ecosphere up there?
They're not super stoked on her, to be completely honest, and I think it kind of has to do with the fact that like they share such a significant overlap of like the fan base, and like she is extremely, I don't want to use any sort of mocking term, but like extremely out there compared to like a lot of like even their conspiracies. Like the Rebel, for example, said that they received a ton of emails like talking about our queen, and that their followers were wanting them to do a story on our queen. So I think they finally had to debunk it, because they realized like what big overlap there was between their two audience. And also like there's probably like a little bit of like grifter jealousy there, because Romana is so good and adept at organizing her people. Like recently, she was able to fundraise $50,000 on GoFundMe before GoFundMe finally pulled the carpet out from under her. But even it's not just like the far right in Canada. Like just recently, Ghost Ezra like kind of tried to dunk on her. So it could be just because she's so out there that they're trying to kind of pull their followers back in and keep like a little bit of legitimacy to kind of their Justin Trudeau is going to put you into a concentration camp kind of conspiracies that they're pushing.
Yeah, it's always sad and a little funny when Nazis try to herd their coalition. No, you're too far off the reservations. Focus on the Jews, not what you're doing. Come back home.
Yeah. Don't go too crazy. Like she's not the queen, but Justin is the Antichrist, so.
Yeah, it's like when somebody says something definitive, like I am the queen, that can be fairly easily disproven. And so I think that, your broader sort of conspiracy grifters or ideologues, like they're like, well, we don't want people hanging their hat on something that is fairly easily disproven. We want to keep them in the place where it's like, well, we know it, but like it's the information is coming out, it's on the horizon. It's coming soon. It's happening in secret. I think that we've seen this in the past that when people in this sort of space kind of make very bold predictions that have a specific date or a specific time or something that will come and go and can discredit the movement as a whole. The sort of the better grifters, I think, the more the sharper ones or the shrewder ones tend to kind of back away from that because they know that there's like an end game,
Yeah. Keep it vague. Kind of speak out of the side of your mouth. Don't really make anything hardline. Whereas like Romana is just full-throated. I'm the queen. I'm gonna kill people.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder if the reason she is so popular is that believers of these conspiracies are sick of like the vague promises, the stuff happening in secret. They would much rather go with somebody who says, "Yes, I'm executing 50,000 people a day." I mean, I wonder if there's something to her popularity and that she's actually saying it, and
in the marketplace of ideas, it's the exact same demand that formed QAnon. Like this is just all the circumstances, like we've said, are still there for exactly the thirst for QAnon that we saw during that movement's kind of heyday or like golden era, I guess. And so, of course, we're going to see these mushrooming, seemingly organic moments where the market responds and gives these people what they want, which is executions fucking now, this week, not tomorrow, not in a fucking year. They want it now.
Yeah, they're out for blood. Like as I said, that's the biggest thing. That's the driving force. She'll post like a whole bunch of stuff that won't get any engagement, and then she'll be like, I'm gonna go fucking kill the people at the Gap today. And like that's gonna get like thousands of comments and shit. And like when she said like we executed 2.7 million Australians, I believe it was, and she calls them pisoitos. That's where people are like into it. That's when they love it.
Why does she call them that?
I think it's like a mosquito thing, and then she's like putting piss at the beginning of it. Oh, because it starts with like, yeah,
it's a dehumanizing label.
Mosquito. I said it incorrectly. Fuck.
It's a piss mosquito.
Yeah.
Hey, come on, man. This is perfect. This is a Trailer Park Boys bit. It's like, Leahy, fuck off, you fucking piss mosquito.
Well, I hate to say I fucking told her so, but I told her so. She fucking gonna kill him.
I told her so, Julian.
I told her so.
Yeah, and the other thing that I mean, just in watching the handful of video clips that Travis has curated for us, she's really kind of like leaning into the sort of fascist dictator like look.
Mm-hmm.
She's got that super tight haircut. She's got the suit, the red tie, the like the Canada First like windbreaker, like from some desolate basement. Like it's just very, the visual is in some ways equally as disturbing as the what she's saying herself.
Which yeah, she's absolutely nailed the aesthetic, and whether that's on purpose or whether it like. She is in a boarding home in Western Canada and can't afford anything else. She's nailed the I'm in a bunker 15 stories underground and I'm coming to you.
Yeah. Do you think that do you think if Canada had an actual socialist government that the CIA would just actually support her and maybe help her rise up a little bit more?
Oh, no doubt at all. Yeah, they would just
She's
pump
Guaido.
money into Romana.
She could be Guaido for Canada if Canada misbehaved a little bit more on the global stage.
They'd move her out of the boarding house.
Yeah, if Trudeau wasn't just this kind of weird, kind of
placating
lackluster leader.
Yeah.
That would be very funny.
Yeah. I'm writing a book on it for sure.
Yeah, fan fiction.
Yeah, that's fascinating, disturbing stuff. I have one more question before I let you go about some other reporting that you've been doing about the anti-vax movement in Canada. So, in Canada, the vaccination rate is actually pretty strong. They're up to 70% of Canadians have received at least one dose. That's better than us in the U.S., where 59% of Americans have received one dose. But there's still a strong anti-vaccination movement to the point that some anti-vax activists have created a website called Freedom Pages, which you described as a Craigslist to get away from the vaccinated. Could you tell us what the hell is going on with that?
Oh, man. The anti-vaxxers are like the busiest bees right now because like as we start getting closer to the lockdowns being lifted, at least in Canada, we're slowly getting lockdowns lifted. I think down in the States, you guys lifted them a bit quicker. They're losing their minds because vaccinations are happening at a way higher extent. They're starting to vaccinate kids and everything. And so I'm sure you guys have come across like the conspiracy about the spike proteins coming off and, they believe that it impacts women's reproductive cycles or it makes guys sterile. So they've been trying to figure out a way to stay away from the vaccinated. So there's one guy who is super big into organizing within the anti-vax community in Canada. Like previously I had reported on the fact that he had this big campaign to try and bring in more ethnic minorities because he felt the community was just far too white. He got a bunch of, as good as he could kind of cobble together web developers from the community, got them together and made them create this super janky page called, as you said, Freedom Pages. It is just Craigslist for the unvaccinated. So it's like this janky website you can go and you can hire a plumber who will only do work for the unvaccinated. Or you can find coffee shops where they'll only let the unvaccinated in. Obviously 90% of it is just your weird aunt offering to sell you crystals, but it's they are mechanics and stuff like that you can go to. And they're
Mac, I have to ask, Craigslist, are they trying to get laid with other non-vaccinated people?
Oh man, they are. And it's all one of them, I went through the dating section. It's not very busy, but it's all just I'm a red-pilled boy looking for my Trinity or shit like that, Yeah, it's so good.
I am literally Neo. I need Trinity style pussy.
We should do an episode on that.
This is what I deserve for being a lead hacker.
Really wants to teach this weird, obscure Russian martial art, and he'll only teach it to the unvaccinated. And he's come to this park and learn this Russian. I wish I could remember the name of it, but learn this martial arts with me. There was one straight up Nazi looking to date on the website, but anytime you get one of these up, that's where they're gonna go.
Looking to date unvaccinated Aryan princess.
Yeah, I don't know where. I actually have a feeling these pages for kind of anti-vaxxers and for kind of as I said, the crossover between the anti-lockdown movement and sovereign citizens, we're going to start seeing more of these kind of pop up that are going to be really tailor-made for this community because they're getting kicked off social media unlike ever before. And you saw how Gab and Parler and all that stuff kind of started up there was a business opportunity for people to cater to racists. And now there's going to be a business opportunity to people to cater to people who are super into homeopathy and super into anti-vaccination shit. So, Freedom Pages is just the very, very first, the GeoCities, if you will, of what's probably going to come.
It's going to be a tale of two cities, but instead of in one state, it'll be all over the world, where you will have the groups of the unvaccinated who are seeking to only date, be patrons of, get their health appointments at unvaccinated places, and then people like us who are mainstream normies going about our vaccinated lives. And it's not going to be good.
You're talking about Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities? What the hell are you talking about?
It was the best of times. It was the vaxxed of times.
Yeah, it was
the
best.
Travis,
Yeah,
help me
it was
here.
the best of times, like for the vaccinated people, and it was the worst of times for the unvaccinated people who only hung out with unvaccinated people, who ended up getting each other sick and potentially killing one another. I mean,
Travis, is he levitating?
He is actually on the ceiling right now. I have to hold up the microphone so you can even hear him.
Oh, man.
Mack, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for all the great reporting you're doing on the conspiratorial movements in Canada. Is there anything you'd like to plug before we let you go?
Oh, no. Just kind of freedompages.ca.
No, man. You got to at least give us your Twitter handle.
Okay, yeah. Well, my last name has a ton of vowels, so just kind of search Mac Vice on Twitter and I'll probably come up, because you don't need to go through that. I don't need to spell it out here.
Thanks for all your work. I've loved to read all your stuff over the years. I'm really glad we finally got you on the show.
yeah, thanks for coming on, Mac. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it was an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for having me on. And thanks for, you guys have spoken to me and, helped me out in my reporting, so thank you for, helping me out over the years, too.
Anytime, we're in on the same PSYOP, so...
Operation Mockingbird.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the QAnon Anonymous podcast. Please go to patreon.com/QAnon Anonymous and subscribe for $5 a month to get a whole second episode every week, plus access to our entire archive of premium episodes. When you subscribe, you help us stay advertising free and editorially independent.
Listener, until next week, may the deep dish bless you and keep you.
It's not a conspiracy, it's fact.
And now, today's auto cue. I, Justin P.J. Trudeau, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, Queen of Canada, her heirs, and successors. So help me God. So help me God. I shall keep secret all matters committed and revealed to me in this capacity, or that shall be secretly treated of in council. Generally, in all things, I shall do as a faithful and true servant ought to do for Her Majesty, so help me God. So help me God. So help me God.
Zone.